Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying the holiday season. Today, I decided to do a video, an educational video about ghosts, goblins, and spirits. This is my theory. This is what I believe what people are experiencing. Those folk out there who are stating honestly that they have felt the presence of loved ones who have went on to the other side. Now, this theory came when a friend of mine called me and she said, David, I'm perplexed. I know that when we die, we do not come back as ghosts, goblins, or spirits. And I know this, she said, because the Bible states specifically in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 5, that the dead know not what the living is doing and they have no presence. Therefore, because I am a believer, she went on to say, I cannot subscribe and commit myself to the ideal that there are ghosts roaming on the earth. I agreed. Then she went on to say, but what do I tell my friends and my family and my colleagues who honestly feel that they have experienced the presence of ghosts, goblins, and spirits? Well, my one word answer to her was energy. What they are experiencing is simply energy. Now, before I explain that further, let's have a basic understanding of what energy is. Energy is the power derived from the utilization of physical and chemical resources. Now, for the purposes of this theory, I'm going to utilize one of the four laws of thermodynamics, which states, the first law actually, and it states that energy under controlled conditions cannot be created or destroyed, simply transformed from one type of energy to another. Thus, chemical reactions such as lighting a match does not create new energy but converts one type of energy into another. Wow. Now that's powerful. Let's think about that. In a controlled environment, that the earth is a controlled environment. And it can't be created, under normal circumstances. Under normal circumstances, and part of the living and dying process is a normal circumstance. There's nothing abnormal about the death of human beings. This is something that has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And in some cases, some people may believe even millions of years, that organisms have given birth and they have died off. You know, we go into different museums and we can see evidence of this. So this is not an abnormal condition. So when we look at that thermodynamic law, that first thermodynamic law, we know that energy can only be transformed into another type of energy. So when you light a match, that energy that you use to light the match now is converted into fire, which is heat. Heat is the energy, the actual energy. And the resource is the fire and the friction of the match. Okay? Let's look at thunderstorms. Now, many of us believe that lightning comes from the sky, but it actually comes from the ground up. What that lightning does, that energy, it creates nutrition for the soil. This plant nutrition allows plants to grow and is converted into energy through different processes such as photosynthesis and things of that nature. But the energy source itself is nitrogen. Now, we know how powerful nitrogen is because it has been used as a main ingredient in a lot of the bombings by Al-Qaeda and the Oklahoma City bombing. That one of the main ingredients was nitrogen, which came from the fertilizer. And so, but it originally came from the sky in the form of lightning. Just as the energy in our cells, it comes from our parents. Our parents, they give us this energy during birth. The mitochondria in our cells create this energy and gives our cells the energy to go on and on and on, which is just really powerful. But what happens when we die? Now, I believe that metabolic energy in our cells is used to decompose our bodies because it takes energy to do that. So we know what happens there. But however, the electrical energy that's in our brains, what happens to that energy? Now remember, our brains is actually the organ that determines who we are. Okay? Oh man, this is getting deep. That the brain, that is the organism that, for instance, if there's no such thing as really as a brain transplant. If you transplanted someone's brain from another body to the next, it's actually be a body transplant, because the brain is actually what houses your behavior, what houses your characteristic. That's what makes David David. That's what makes Susie Susie, Jean Jean, and so on and so on. So therefore, what happens to that electrical energy? Well, I will submit that energy continues to continues the process of recreating itself. I'll give you a good example. If you go into a room, when you leave a room, you leave parts of your cells. Through DNA testing, DNA investigations, they have found that if they have contact DNA is when you actually touch an item. When police, they rub an item, they're looking at what they call contact DNA. This is where people actually touch that item. They've left particles of their skin there, which leaves particles of their cells, and that's where the DNA is housed in the cell. So, is it too far to suggest that a person who lives in a house for a number of years leaves their DNA in that home? Leaves that energy in the home? I think we're onto something here. I would submit that they do. I would submit that, and that energy has become so accustomed to what we feel because we've experienced it through years of living with this person, of knowing this person. So when they pass on, we're still experiencing that energy. That energy is so familiar that our cells start to react in ways they did in the past. So the touch of your mother, you knew how that felt, not only because of the physical touch, but because of the mental touch of that energy that she put off. Think about when a person rubs against you in the hair without even touching you, the hair on the back of your neck stands. It's because of the energy. It's not because of the actual physical touch, but the energy. Therefore, when a person passes on, they leave that energy, and that energy is what comforts us in some cases. In some cases, it doesn't comfort us, because if it didn't comfort us before they passed away, it will not comfort us when they leave. So, to summarize this, we must understand that energy is there, and it's there for us to use for a little while. But then when we use it, we will leave energy for the next generation, and then the next generation. Understand, this is just my theory. Leave your comments, and have a good day. Thank you very much.